Hello, this is Caelan Huntress, and today I'm going to share with you how I use Airtable to organize my pink sheets. Now, if you don't know what pink sheets are, they're something that we're taught how to do in this program called Thought Leaders Business School. It's a school for experts, and I'm going to put a link to this website in the description of this video, as well as a link to pinksheetprocess.com, which goes through the specifics of how to make pink sheets and how to produce them. But I'm making this video primarily for members of the program, Thought Leaders Business School. So I'm not going to get into the details of how to make pink sheets. Instead, I'm going to talk about how to organize them using Airtable. Airtable is a database display tool, which means it can take a spreadsheet and display it in a lot of different ways. You know, this spreadsheet contains all of my pink sheets, and I can review these pink sheets in Kanban boards. I can review it in calendars. I can filter it and sort it in a lot of different ways. And I'm going to show some of those to you in just a little bit. But first, I want to show you the mechanics of how I've set this up and put it all together. I organize my pink sheets by number in consecutive sequence. In chronological order, they each get assigned a number as they get put in my database. My 4-step sales cycle is pink sheet 25. So if I need to look in this system or any other one, I know that 25 is what it's assigned to. Every one of my pink sheets has a title, which is something short, just 2 or 3 words, and a featured image. And I select a featured image when I upload it to Central because I know that at some point in the future, I'm going to be writing something on a thank you page. And I'm going to need a featured image for the blog article or the newsletter or a slide or whatever. And just having an image that's high quality and already selected, it cuts out a future step of the production process. So I have 136 pink sheets right now. These next 3 columns are the links to where the assets live online. After I fill out a pink sheet by hand, for me, that's when a pink sheet is done, is I've written it out by hand. And I take a photo of it and I upload it to a Trello board so my assistant can turn that photo into a PDF and upload it to Dropbox and upload it to the dashboard on Central. And then she takes the featured image that I've assigned and puts it in Dropbox so that I know I can find it easily. And so there's a lot of basic stuff that's set up by my assistant. From the time that I take a photo of my finished pink sheet, she does a whole lot of steps. And then I come in here and I do the organization of the folders. I've got folders, subfolders, events, and ratings. We're told to rate as a deck of cards from 2 up to ace. And there's jacks, queens, and kings, which is why I have up to 14 in here. And you can filter and sort this database by this ranking. And you can filter out folders. And I'll show you how to do that in a little bit. But first, I want to keep going through the basics here. Then I have the content sections where my assistant types out the statements and the explanations. And they do these 2 pieces. And then the rest of these are blank. And I come in and I fill these in later when I first use my pink sheet to create a newsletter. And I'll tell you about why I get into that after I share with you my 5-step creative process. Because this process is part of how I organize these pink sheets. And this is a pink sheet itself. I'll show you the 5-step creative pink sheet in Airtable. But first, I'm going to go through these 5 steps with you. And the first step is to collect. I need some sort of basket to collect all my ideas. And that basket for me is these little pink slips of paper. And then I need to sort these ideas. And I need a dedicated period of time where I'm digging through these ideas to figure out which ones do I want to prioritize producing. What's most interesting to me? What would work for an upcoming delivery that I have? That sorting process for me it's one of the most fun. But then what we often think of creative production is this 3rd step of craft. And I find I can't get to this 3rd step unless I've collected a big enough volume of ideas and spent enough time sorting it. And then when it's time for me to craft, I can be really targeted about the time and just do the work to produce it. And then I've got to polish it. In a different sitting from my crafting, I have to come back to it with fresh eyes and knock off the rough edges and figure out what it's really trying to say. And then the final step is to publish. And these 5 steps I go through with anything I create. I collect, sort, craft, polish, and publish. Now that pink sheet started as one of these little pink slips of paper. And I have a bunch of these right here on my desk because I collect these and I organize them. But I take 2 to 3 every week and I convert them into a handwritten pink sheet. And so having these little scraps of paper, it makes it feel it's very light. I can just add on ideas to this idea, that idea. For me, getting the statistics is always the most time consuming. I've got to spend time doing research to get statistics in there and cite the sources so that by the time I write something down here, I've got scientific evidence for left-brained thinkers, because I'm a right-brained guy, but it takes me time to dig this up. But once I do, it gives me additional credibility. So it's funny because getting the statistics usually takes me as long as getting all the rest of these itself. Now, when when I have to do the statement and the explanation, I usually do everything else here, and then I get my Moleskine notebook, and in batches of 2 or 3, I just do a bunch of writing. And in that free writing, I find the good sentences, the pieces of commercial poetry that become the statement and the explanation. And so I get all this filled out, I photograph it, and I send it over to my assistant, and then she puts it up into Airtable. And every one of these records, here, let me look for the creative process. Number 123. I'm going to expand this record. This is another way that you can view Airtable, is in addition to seeing these lines on the spreadsheet, you can expand one of those records and see it by itself. And so that way, if I don't want to be distracted by all my other pink sheets, but just want to work on this one, or if I want to fetch a link, I can see it all here. And so I come down here and my assistant puts these two in, the statement and the explanation. And I spend some time doing this just because I like to revisit it. And it's usually when I'm turning this into a newsletter article. Every one of my pink sheets becomes a newsletter article. And during that time, I do the 7-year-old 17, 37, 70 exercise, where Matt says, rephrase your pink sheet as a 7-year-old would say it, a 17-year-old, a 37, and a 70-year-old would say it. What's a street slang way to say it? What's an Oxford smart way to say it? And so when I'm going to write a pink sheet or a newsletter on a specific pink sheet, that's when I do this copywriting work. And I massage the content. This is my polishing. I'm getting it even better. So that then by the time that I have a whole bunch and a lot of these fields, I have an opt-in video for lead magnets for some of them. They belong in different books. So let me show you a couple of the other views here. My newsletter calendar is a calendar view. And there's a date at the end of every record where if it's assigned a date, it's put onto this calendar. So that I can schedule, in addition to some of my launch emails, I've got some here, like I'm doing a launch next week. And so I just add some cards in here, but I have them filtered out of my master list. So I've got these 2 different views and they hide from each other. Let's see, filtered by when the pink sheet number is not empty, then that's when it shows in this master list view. But I can add additional cards onto the newsletter calendar just so I can see all of my different upcoming newsletters. But if I know that there's going to be one that is related to a pink sheet, then I can expand the record and work on those upcoming newsletters here. I also use it to organize my books. Our books are I see every pink sheet as a chapter. And that newsletter that I write on that pink sheet becomes the chapter. That's the first draft of the chapter for my book. But I got to figure out the order of everything. And I find a Kanban board really handy to this is stripped down so I just see the titles. And I can say, you know what, personal power-ups, that belongs here, but it needs to be further up at the top. And let's say that thinking versus doing needs to really be over here. And so you can drag and drop and get it into sections. And I find this to be a good way to organize IP. There's also ways that you can show the featured image so that, it just looks a lot better. Like, oh, I'm going to talk about I'm going to do a presentation on recreation. So I'm going to talk about the Super Mario effect, leveling up, and play. I'm kind of in the way here. And then I can pull up everything if I'm going to make a presentation and go and get the relevant pieces that I need out of here. Now, there's one other way that you can view everything, and that's in this simple database display where you can filter and sort. And this is where Airtable really gives you some great capabilities. Like, let's say I want to sort by folder, and I want to look at anything in my marketing folder. Then I can instantly see, oh, I've got more than 50 pink sheets in marketing. So that's my commercial PhD. I've got a commercial PhD in marketing. If I want to come up with some stuff for marketing content, I can copy and paste these statements and explanations, and I've got a bunch of stuff right here. If I want to organize this to get into a presentation, that's what I use this event field for. In the event field, I tagged everything that was a part of my book, Marketing Yourself. And so let's say I want to look at everything that's in the Marketing Yourself book. So now I can see all the pink sheets that were in the book, or that were referenced in the book. But if I want to do some marketing content that wasn't in the book, then I'm going to exclude those. And now I'm seeing just my marketing pink sheets that were not in my book. So if I want to write a sequel, or I want to write, if I'm giving a presentation to a group that's seen my marketing yourself presentation before, then this is a place where I can come. It's a way that I can sort my data so that I can see what's going to be, what am I going to share with them? And if I want to prioritize these, I can sort it by the rating, because I've already rated these, and I'm going to sort it from top to bottom. Okay. And so now I've got my highest rated ones, or it should do. Oh, because this is the neat thing about Airtable. When you sort or filter by multiple different things, you can prioritize which one goes first. So it was sorting by the pink sheet number, and these are all still sequential. But if I say, no, do it by rating first and then by number, or just, I don't like to cut out the ones that I already have in there, because then I have to put them back in. And so I find this dragging and drop of sorting really helps. So now I've got my best up at the top. Oh, so if I'm only going to have 5 pink sheets for this presentation, these are my 5 most likely candidates. And I can say, it's not really sales focused. So instead I want to do 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and say those are my 5, and then start presenting from there. So instead of having to dig through my folder and shuffle them around, I can just come in here into Airtable and just use some smart filters and some, let me take this back. Like right now, pink sheet's not empty, and it's filtering out by Marketing Yourself. This doesn't make much of a difference if you do it sequential. What order these are in is not as essential. With sorting, with filtering, the order doesn't matter, but with sorting, the order really matters in how you're going to display it. So that's the basics of how I get pink sheets into Airtable and what I do with them. And I hope you found this process helpful. Have fun out there. Oh, I was supposed to have my outro already. I did all this fancy stuff. Oh, and I couldn't even move to my outro without it being smooth. I suck at making these videos. Oh, and you know, it's so funny is I am just now doing this pink sheet on imposter syndrome. That's the one that I'm doing right now. And I'm feeling that right now because I didn't even have my outro set up and ready to go. So if you want to hear more about what I think about imposter syndrome, look on Central, because I'm putting a pink sheet over there. Have fun out there.